Let's cross now to One Nation leader Pauline Hanson, who joins us from Queensland. Good to talk to you, Pauline. Where are you on the UFO and alien stuff?
Oh, no. I'll stick with what I know, and that's more to do with politics and policies. Look, Chris, it's true what happens with Facebook. There's trigger words, and if you use those trigger words, I notice with my own posts that if I use trigger words, it doesn't go out, so the public don't get to see it. So they're controlling what you put out on Facebook page. So Twitter, Elon Musk has allowed people to put out what they want to say more on Twitter, which is a good thing in a lot of ways. You know, we're being controlled. You talk about, you know, is it conspiracy theories and different things, but then again, when you look at it, what we've been fed with the COVID-19 was a load of rubbish too. And what we've been told about climate change, there hasn't been a debate on it. So we're being controlled one way or the other. Freedom of speech, the people will judge me and what I put out there. They're fact-checkers, the people themselves.
No, as I said, there's definitely a problem there with censorship, and I agree with what Tucker Carlson says about that. But I also just worry about the open slather approach, because people are having a hell of a time picking through it all. So, yeah, it would be good if we just all stay with mainstream media and we checked our facts, but those days are gone. Now, I've got to get your thoughts on BHP coming out. This was not made public until now, but obviously they've done it behind the scenes in the lead up to the budget, telling the government, a massive global company, massive miner and exporter of uranium, and they're saying to the government, get rid of these restrictions, stop making nuclear power illegal. Then you'll get some sense from the private sector and the energy markets as to whether or not it's feasible.
Totally agree with BHP coming out and saying something to the Treasury prior to the budget being handed down. But Chris, I don't know why the government is so bloody minded about nuclear and bringing it in. We can't supply the needs that we need with solar and wind. It's never going to cut it. And the more they shut down the coal-fired power stations and they don't want exploration of gas due to the Greens telling the Labor Party what to do, we're going to be in real problems in this country. We're going to lose a lot of industries and manufacturing because they have to have the base load fire to actually, like coal and gas delivers. Solar and wind won't cut it. And you talk about climate change. Nothing is emissions free. Whatever you put in solar or wind power, there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of acres being destroyed to put in wind turbines and solar panels. What they're built with is with coal, steel. Where are we putting the waste when we're finished with it? Everything is going to have an impact on our environment. We've had nuclear in the Lucas Heights down there in Sydney for medical reasons. We've had it for decades. What is wrong with nuclear? So I've got to ask the question, I'm starting to think, what deals have been done with these wind and energy and renewable energy companies that the government is not going to look at nuclear? Something stinks here to me, Chris. Well, some deals have been done.
A lot of those money went into the Teals and others, so they certainly haven't hurt Labor's electoral prospects. Keir Starmer, the Labor leader in the UK, shows the way, doesn't he? He talks about the need for fossil fuels for the next few decades to make the transition. Of course, he talks about renewable energy. Everybody's on board with renewables to some degree, but he's saying you need more nuclear. And he sees Britain playing a great role in developing the technology and the jobs and helping not only Britain, but the world.
Nuclear supplies about 10%, it's growing to 20% around the world in nuclear energy now as it is. I think one of the countries in Denmark, I think it is, they've now giving away energy because they've turned on nuclear and they've got so much energy that they're giving it to the people free. And the fact is that it's got to happen here. But every year the numbers are growing with the Australian people who are getting on board with nuclear. So we have to run with it. We have to go with it. If you want this net zero, as BHP said, if you want the 2030 emissions and the 2050 net zero emissions, you have to go with nuclear. There's no other way for it if we want to maintain the industries, manufacturing jobs in this country. Otherwise, we're going to become a third world country.
It's a no-brainer. It's inevitable. We'll have to do it. So the sooner we get cracking, the better. Now, I just want to get your thoughts on the economy and especially the impact on housing. We know we've already got a housing crisis. We've got a shortage of housing. Prices are too high. There's too much demand. It's impacting on rents as well. We're boosting immigration. Interest rates are going up. This looks horrible. You and I have lived through this sort of crisis before. I fear what we're going to see unfolding in the coming year.
Chris, I've got to say I blame a lot of this on the current government and what they've done with their policies, what they put out. The budget that they say, oh, well, we've got a deficit only because you're getting the interest of the National Fund that wasn't included in it before. So that's what's given them a budget surplus this time around. But over the next 4 years, they're going to drive that up to $110 billion deficit in the next 4 years. So the government spending is actually adding to increasing inflation. People are struggling, they're doing it tough. Even my own kids are doing it tough, you know, trying to make ends meet, so I understand. And, you know, I did my grocery shopping last night and there's only 2 of us, and I tell you what I pay, I pity those families that have, you know, 3 or 4 kids and they've got to actually pay the bill. And the interest rates now, they state that 45% of an income now goes directly into paying off a mortgage, and that's going to rise again. And if we have another 2 interest rate rises, a lot of people are going to lose their homes. But if people actually sell up their homes now, I doubt whether they will actually be able to get another mortgage, because the interest rates rises goes into what income they're coming into the household, and it's, you know, they'll struggle even more so. So I suggest to people, you know, unless you can get out of it and get into a cheaper property to save you those interest rates costs, but by the time you buy and sell, stamp duty, all the other costs on top of it, and finding the right house, you know, it's really struggle street for so many people. My heart goes out to them, because I've been there, Chris. I was in the 1970s trying to find money to you know, single mother of 2 kids, to try and buy food and pay for the rent and feed the kids. So I relate to a lot of people.
Yeah, me too. Certain others in the late 80s, early 90s, so we just did not know whether we'd be able to hang on to our first house. And we're working about 5 jobs between the 2 of us, desperately trying to hang on to a mortgage. And that's the sort of crisis we're putting people into now. Thanks so much for joining us, Pauline. Appreciate it.